And they said, "These be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt." And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made proclamation and said, "Tomorrow is a feast to the Lord." And they rose up early in the morning, on the morrow, and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and to drink and rose up to play. And the Lord said unto Moses, "Go, get thee down, for thy people, which thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves." I want to draw three contrasts now. We've got steadfast Joshua, who is going through a very similar trial to Moses. He is right below that cloud. I bet he could even hear the echoings. I bet he could hear the voices possibly. If nothing else, these are an experience he will remember for the rest of his life. I bet the thunderings are so loud that he's gotten a little bit deaf. I bet the lightnings are so intense that he's gotten a little bit sun-blinded. His eyes are probably a little bit sensitive. But he's been up there with Moses since day one. You know what you don't find the command to do in this passage? For Joshua to go up. Do you realize what kind of faith this second man had? By the way, you're all commissioned second men during the summer. Even you ladies. Okay, just don't get too preachy. Okay? You're all second man to your churches at home and to those around you. And when you go home, you need to be those second man. I would challenge you to be a second man like Joshua. Joshua here, man, this guy's walking on faith. He knows that the step 1 foot, look, even just the intention could probably get you struck down dead. And he follows up Moses. You realize that Moses had to have had some realization of the spiritual life of Joshua, that even though God said, "You alone will come up," Joshua follows his pastor, his leader. And Moses has got to have faith that he's not leading this guy to his doom as well. You never see that command, "Bring Joshua up." You will see it later on when he's getting ready to be commissioned as leader. You'll see it. This is the same guy, by the way, that when Aaron and Moses go into the tabernacle, this is the same one that stayed when the other two went out. He had a walk with God that he was willing to bet his life on. That when he had stepped the first foot, he could have been gone. He could have been struck down, and we would have preached about him differently some 3,000 years later as some moron who couldn't follow simple instructions. But because he lived a holy life, because he was steadfast in his fellowship, when his pastor said, "We're going up," we don't see any debate. We don't see any worry. We see simple fellowship. That blows my mind. You know what? You never see. You know where Aaron was? Joshua was steadfast. He's at the top, near the top of the mountain, near the cloud. You know where Aaron was supposed to be here? He was commanded, "Tarry here." You know what that means? Send some runners, set up camp at the base of the mountain, and wait for us. Next thing we hear about Aaron is he's back at camp 40 days later, 47 days later. Okay? Making calves. He doesn't have the same faith, which blows my mind that the man who is the ceremonial and spiritual leader of this people is about as steadfast as a bowl of water. You tip it, and it's going to go everywhere, and you'll never put that all back together. But the guy who's just following his pastor is up there on the top of the mountain, and he can see down, and they can see up. So when they go, "Where's this Moses?" Well, Joshua's still up there. If he's still up there and he's outside of the cloud, you don't think God's sustaining him and Moses, possibly? He's carrying them through? You know what? Even if it had gone longer and longer and longer, I have the faith that, God could have sent a walking, breathing corpse called Moses down to them again, or raise him from the dead, if he had exhausted his servant. The cloud had not gone away. For 47 days, the cloud is up there, burning away. You know, people who think that they have found Mount Sinai, you know what they say? The top is still burned to a char today. They say it's a black top. They say you look through all the peaks, and all of a sudden, boom, there's this ring, and from a certain altitude up, this thing is blackened because it's been burned and heated and flexed and cooled as it went back down, and the stones are brittle because they've been carbonized. We've got someone who's steadfast versus someone who, by the way, the man's a liar top to bottom because he says the people threatened me with my life and scared me to death. Yet we have no record of it in that whole thing. They say, he's gone, make us something else. So he's up for alternatives. He's up for alternative worship. He is up for taking what he has. Because you see here, he says, he makes a proclamation to the Lord. He assembles the calf, which, by the way, he lies about. He says it came out shapen like a calf. He's trying to say that that was the Lord's blessing upon it, that something that shouldn't have been, it came out of the fire like a golden calf. If anything, that should be really scary, like a demonic influence, okay? But he says here that he engraved it. He knew it, and he's trying to blame shift. That's our second or third characteristic. We've got holy versus distracted. He's easily led around by common opinion. Holy. Joshua was able to stand on that mountain without getting struck. And yet Aaron makes himself a liar. By the way, you know what's really curious about making a calf out of gold? A calf is a dependent, needing, hurting animal. They made God in an image that would comply with what they wanted. Not a holy, perfect God. See how much they've shrunk down? He knew enough that he was trying to still lead right. Why? Because, we'll make a proclamation to the Lord. We have already gotten the feast. We'll just make this good worship, even though it's completely based on falsities and lies. He's trying to make it right, but he's going about it the wrong way. Thirdly, we've got a responsible person versus a blame shifter and a liar. You know what happens when the Lord says go down and they hear the beating of the drums? You know what Joshua's first response is? We're being invaded. We've got a war on. Let's go. He's like, this is it. And Moses goes, no. That's some of people singing and rejoicing and having, all kinds of horrific stuff. But he was ready to go. He was responsible. He was still doing, when Moses walked out of that cloud, he was still doing what he was told to do. When you go out this summer, one of the best things you can do for your churches is be responsible. Is to not be the one that went off to Bible college and got all wacky. We didn't tell you to be wacky, so you found it of your own accord, okay? Just laying that out there. That's why you have to study, people, okay? You shouldn't be the one that your pastor has to worry about, okay? When they set things in order, even for those 3 months, they might say, hey, help your youth pastor or your pastor or your Sunday school teacher. Will they be able to count on you to arrive on time those 3 months? Will you have set those things in order that no matter where you're at, you'll still do your job and your duty and your service as faithfully as when you're here, when you get demerits? Again, this is just a 3-month trial. You should be ready for this. This is a 3-month, we're going to put to the test what we have learned and developed into habit over the last 9 months. We're not asking a lot of you, and we're warning you about this. Why? Because once you step out in unfamiliar ground, or old familiar ground, you can easily find yourself backpedaling. There's a huge amount of results of this encounter. I want to bring it over. We'll turn to chapter 26. Chapter 32, 26, and then we'll read through it. It says, Then Moses stood in the gate of the camp and said, Who is on the Lord's side? Let him come unto me. And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves together unto him. And he said unto him, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, Put every man his sword by his side, and go in and out from gate to gate throughout the camp, and slay every man his brother, and every man his companion, and every man his neighbor. And the children of Levi did according to the word of Moses, and there fell of the people that day about 3,000 men. For Moses had said, Consecrate yourselves today to the Lord, even every man upon his son and upon his brother, that he may bestow upon you a blessing this day. It cost Aaron for his indecisiveness. It cost Aaron for not being grounded. 3,000, not just of Israelites, but of his own tribe, of the Levites. 3,000. And you know what he was supposed to do for the rest of his life? Offer the sacrifices that they would come to the altar with, the tabernacle with, for the next years. That's got to be hard. You know why some of them would have come and been like, man, how is he still able to do what he can do with what he did? You know why it was such a harsh punishment? You know why it was unto death? Because this is the priesthood. You might as well die if you're not going to get it right. That's how severe it was. Because anything short of that, and you risk it happening again. You risk it not being a lesson. Not only do we see that 3,000 of the Israelites are killed. Brothers, fathers, sons, that let them loose on this idolatry. Coming to the next chapter in 33, it says, And the Lord said unto Moses, Depart and go up thence, thou and the people which thou hast brought up out of the land of Egypt unto the land which I swear unto Jacob. And he goes on. In verse 3, it says, we'll continue on verse 2, and it says, And I will send an angel before thee, and I will drive out the Canaanite, the Amorite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite, unto a land flowing with milk and honey. For I will not go up in the midst of the people. That's a loss of fellowship right there. He's going to tell us in a second, For thou art a stiff-necked people, lest I consume thee in the way. And when the people heard these evil tidings, they mourned. And no man did put on him his ornaments. For the Lord had said unto Moses, Say unto the children of Israel, Ye are a stiff-necked people. I will come up into the midst of thee in a moment and consume thee. Therefore now put off thy ornaments from thee, that I may know what to do with thee. He's basically saying, I have no idea what to do with you people. You know, there was not only a loss of life, there was a loss of fellowship, but you know what was even more important than that? They lost their joy. They lost. You know what those ornaments are? Those were God-instructed outward signs of who his people are. In martial arts, I remember I had just taken a test. I think it was a green belt test. And I was just in my head that day, and I couldn't get over it. And I think my grandmaster thought it was because in my head, because now I'm a green belt. And he had to turn around, take off your belt, and he slapped an orange belt back on me. And he said, now go and do your form. Why? Because I wasn't at that level yet. Even though I passed the test and I read through the requirements and I got everything done, I wasn't performing, and in my head, I was in my head, and I wasn't performing. You know, a green belt ought to be able to overcome themselves in certain ways. and be able to go, knucklehead, put it in your pass, and go. Execute the command. And I couldn't. And so in that way, I was still an orange belt. And so he handed me a belt, because a belt only tells you where you're at for your master. Your master has all these belts, and he knows what the requirements are. So when you get to a certain rank, he knows, okay, I can trust him to teach a previous rank up to this level as well. And that's where they're at. He says, you shouldn't even wear the ornaments of the Israelites at this point. That's like saying, give me my name back, because you shouldn't have it. You're not God's chosen, called out people, because I just got you running around naked in idolatry. It costs blessings. He said, the only way you're going to receive this blessing today is if you just start cutting people down who have aligned themselves against me. So we have steadfast and easily swayed. We have holy and versus distractible. We have responsible versus a blame shifter. And we have the results of lost blessings, lost joy, and lost friends and family. Every single one of those are things that you can goof up this summer. Let me just tell you something. No one, or I hope no one, twisted your arm to the point where you decided to come here this year to Bible college or to come back. I hope it was your own volition. And if you're not, you're an adult. Make your own decisions, okay? Respectfully, okay? Don't disrespect parents. But I'm just saying, like, if God's not here, calling you here, you shouldn't go back and badmouth this college about how much we held your feet to the fire to follow simple rules. You shouldn't go back and be the scorner. You shouldn't go back and misrepresent us. Because guess what? Landmark teaches you to work and do everything from clean the toilets to preaching behind a pulpit. And that takes work and that takes development. So if you go back and say they just worked us to death, congratulations, you've got a real taste of the ministry now. Okay? I don't understand it when people go off and take apart my college that I've served in, that I try to help in, because they're morons. I'm just going to put it up there. Because if you're going to be like that, beware, God's got his hand on this place, and I'll be on betting sides of that any day of the week. Okay? And for our faults, we are not Golden State. We are not Crown College. We're not any of the others that have gone astray. And we do our best. We're a local church ministry. That means through the local church, with God has given to this church, we do this ministry. Okay? We are not Pensacola, and we don't teach you how to be everything else underneath the sun. We teach you how to be good servants of the Lord. Not that you can't be that in addition to what they teach you, but this is for the heavyweights. Okay? And if I'm stomping on people's toes, I'm not trying to, but I want you to get a good perspective. I hate the saying, fake it till you make it, and I hate the saying it doesn't get any easier. Because even though it doesn't get any easier, you should get better at it. The first time you lug 100 pounds anywhere, that's going to be hard. In the Army, they don't start you off at a 20-mile clip hike with 100 pounds on your back. They just get you to do the 20 miles first. Then they start adding things to it. Then they add your rifle, then they add your helmet, then they add your pack, then they put things in the pack. And they build you up. They don't just set you off to, off the deep end and drown you first. That's where you're at. It should get easier as you go by. I'm going to stop on this rabbit trail. But you can see where my heart lies on that. And I hope you have that same conviction. You know why? Because I had 2 summers in Bible college. First one, I was gone for a month on a missions trip, and I came back. Spent probably about a week at home getting back on track. Time-wise, I had been 3 different time zones, bunch of different temperatures, across the equator, so my body was messed up, let me tell you. Spent a week at home, came back around teen camp, plowed it, kept on going, just doing it, getting it done. I'd already spent 4 years of college. Honestly, I thought I was on the home stretch finishing my second degree when the Lord called me to Bible college. So I was not about to be waylaid. And that fall, a lot of things happened that fall. I was having issues with my dean. I was having issues with peers of mine. And a real root of bitterness really got into me. I became critical, and I really had to rein in a scorner's heart. And I struggled with that. And I left a little bit early that semester, 3 days early, because my sister, who was at college at the time, I've not really told anyone this before besides my sister and you guys and my wife. So you guys are getting an inside look. I went home early. I think we left at like 5 o'clock on a Friday morning to head home because my sister had a small procedural surgery to get done that Monday. So we had to get home before the weekend. Got the only ticket of my life that way home. Great attitude fixer. Went home, and I had already set my keys on the desk that I had in IT, where I work scholarship. And I queued up an email for 8 a.m. Monday morning, 8 or 9 a.m. And I went home. And I was done. And I was done working work scholarship. I was done putting up with people. I was done serving in different areas. I had taken over the guy who was heading up the video ministry, the video service, everything like that, in charge of scheduling and everything. That was before it got condensed down from about a 3-person job to about a 1.5-person job. And I was having issues with everyone. I was having issues left and right. And I went home that Monday morning around 9 or 10 o'clock. I got a call. It was the most shameful call I've ever had to be a part of. I don't know how Pastor knew to call me exactly. He was Brother Parsons then. He was my bus captain. And he said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Is it a money issue? We can do something about that. You can work with Jeremiah." I said, "Nope." And because I wasn't about to step back into that, even though I felt like I had been gypped of that. And in a way, that was a blessing that the Lord kept me focused on my studies and didn't let me get distracted by a job or anything like that, because I just didn't want to be with anyone. I wasn't about to quit, but I really, didn't want to be around anyone anymore. And that next semester, came back, same thing, chose to work in the world instead of at my own college, pulling 20 credit hours. COVID hit, went home, learned a lot. And that fall, when I came back, a lot of my other peers were struggling too, and we all talked about it that next fall. And they're like, "Man, COVID was a life sentence." I was supposed to go back to Australia for 10 weeks that summer when COVID hit. I wasn't in a place spiritually to do that. I wasn't in a good place to do that. I would have been bad to have there. And I found the only job that I could overnight, working 10 to 6, 5 days a week, as one of the only 2 closers in the kitchen at McDonald's. And I brushed up against the world, and the Lord worked on me and beat me to a pulp over it time and time again. Is this really what you want to do? Because this is not where I want you to be. And over the course of that entire summer, I was a testimony, I was a witness, but I got beat down, and the Lord worked on my heart. And thankfully, I came to a point where I came back to Bible college, and I apologized to those who I had let down, and I hitched back up. And a huge part of that was Pastor Parsons. That phone call, that was almost a life-changing phone call. That he would have that concern. My own pastor didn't call me. My own pastor never picked up the phone. In all, 3 years of Bible college, I don't think he ever placed a single call. He was a busy man, big congregation, nothing against him. We never had that kind of relationship to begin with. One thing I have desired to do, and I'll finish up here quickly, is there's two things I've always wanted to be. I've always desired to be a person that was a yes man. Not, yes, agree with anyone about anything or whatever, but if I can make it work in the ministry, if I can make it so I can have it work out, if there's a conflict, I want to say, yes, I can handle something. I want to be there for that. I want to take care of things. I clear my schedule to do that as best I can. My wife and I both now. And it's brought all kinds of blessings because, you know, people, and this is with the second part, I've always also wanted to be someone that nobody had to worry about. They don't have to worry about what I'm going to do. They don't have to worry about where I'm going to be. Because if I'm not where I'm supposed to be, there's a really good reason for it. There's no reason to worry about me. I've got my act together, and I'm doing right. Just beyond character, but just like you don't have to worry about that. That's why those two things have always been something. I don't want to be that outlier that has to be brought in all the time. I don't want to have to be that sheep that gets hooked in by the shepherd and have their legs broken so that they'll stay close. I always want to be a yes man. I want to be there, and it has brought so many blessings. Because you know what I used to have by the time I got done with my freshman year? I had a ring of keys that could get me anywhere. And that meant something to me, even though it was just a ring of keys, because it meant that I had the responsibility, the level-headedness, the reputation that I wasn't just going to go and do stupid stuff with those keys. The only thing I couldn't do was get into the finance office, and I could pick that anyway, and I had friends that had picks, so it didn't matter anyway. Okay, but I mean, I could turn off the cameras if I had wanted to, okay, because I had that kind of stuff. My pastor, except for that time, has, I hope, never had to worry about me. My pastor, except for that time, when I said no, I've always tried to be a yes man. And you know, I look back, and I'm now almost 4 years into being a bus captain. If you see Steve down at the church from now on, Bahamian and his family, I haven't seen him in a long time, but he's now back in town. He's a blessing that has come down through the ages because he got picked up when he was like 5 or 6 or something like that. And I get to be a part of that. My pastor has never had to call up again and say, "Are you okay?" And I've gotten so many blessings because I have been that one that my superiors can call, or at least I like to think so. I get to go on the cool trips that everyone else considers mundane, when I get to shuffle people around, or I get to go pick up Bibles, or I get to do all these other things that people might not want to do. But to me, that's just part of the ministry, and that's one of the cool things about the ministry. You never know what you're going to do. When you're up in August heat taking care of air conditioners because they tried to blow up and burn down the place 3 weeks before school starts, and you're up there working shoulder to shoulder with everyone else and trying to not fall through the ceiling, or you're running conduit out at camp in the middle of June, July heat trying to get the AC going, and the dirt is caked up on your arms from all the sweat that's sticking to you. But that doesn't come out of nowhere. I hope it doesn't come across as a prideful boast. Those are the things that good memories are built off of, that I get to serve with people like Brother Samuel, Brother Revel, Brother John. I mean, that's it right there. I cannot imagine doing anything else. He's got some memories, I can tell. He's been through some of them because he was there too. But none of that will mean anything if you toss away the next 3 months. Just flush it. Just flush it. This is a time to put into practice what you've done This is a time to just do the next step. You've done it for 9 months. We've slowly put things on you. We've given you responsibilities and duties and jobs. Are you going to go and do that? Or are you going to have to be someone that your pastor or your assistant pastor has to make sure that, like, are they going to do their job, or are they going to forget to set their alarm this Sunday morning? Are they going to be there, or do I have to worry about where they are? I hope that that's not what any of you are. As the piano plays, my challenge to you this morning would be, are you going to be a Joshua? Joshua got to see incredible things that literally would have killed anyone else. Or are you going to be Aaron, who just is a royal mess up? He still gets to serve God. He still lived and completed his ministry. But every time one of those other Israelites came and offered a sacrifice, you don't think that they said, why do you get to do that? Or it was a stumbling block to their own lives? Or are you going to be like Joshua? Joshua ended up leading the people of Israel to victory upon victory upon victory. And he had his own mess-ups too. He was human. Are you going to be like Joshua, or are you going to be like Aaron?